Chapter 96. When the Roses Bloom. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master, officially declaring war. Bai Ruotong took a step forward and sat across from Zhuang Qingyan. Ripples appeared in her pupils as layers of spiritual energy turned into a gentle stream, carefully sensing the emotional fluctuations of the other party. When did you meet Song Ke? 7 months ago. Was assassinating Nai Kong your idea? No. Have you ever used manipulation, suggestion, or instigation to influence her thoughts? Never. Bai Ruotong furrowed her brow. Ordinary awakeners, when facing a mind-reading ability, would show signs of nervousness or agitation, but this person seemed like a calm, undisturbed body of water. She couldn't discern any clues. Was he just exceptionally skilled at lying, deceiving even himself? Or did he secretly construct a mental barrier, blocking her detection? Determined, Bai Ruotong released her ability to the fullest. The trickles of energy transformed into a surging river, intending to break through and forcibly enter Zhuang Qingyan's mind to extract information. However, as soon as she conceived this idea, she abruptly collided with a cold mental force. Bang! Like a giant hammer wildly pounding in her mind, her clear consciousness instantly blurred for 2 seconds. What is your purpose in traveling with Song Ke? Bai Ruotong gritted her teeth. No specific purpose. After she saved me, we acted together, Zhuang Qingyan replied calmly. Have you ever lied to her from start to finish? Bai Ruotong's body swayed. Zhuang Qingyan smirked, no trace of amusement in his eyes. How do you define lying? Bai Ruotong's cold sweat increased. Although she was the one questioning, the man in front of her remained composed. Her psychic ability was completely suppressed, immobilizing her. His mental strength was evidently higher than hers. Bai Ruotong was suddenly alarmed, and a dreadful speculation surged in her mind. Could he be? Ruotong, stop it. Zhang Si drew a calming symbol in the air, and it flew towards Bai Ruotong. She suddenly snapped back to reality, gasping for breath. Are you S level? Zhang Si asked coldly. Indeed, I am. Zhuang Qingyan smiled. As soon as the words fell, 2 powerful S-level auras were simultaneously released, colliding head-on. The expressions of the onlookers changed, and they quickly retreated, distancing themselves from the center of the confrontation. Tables, chairs, bowls, and chopsticks clattered to the ground. In the midst of the chaos, the only one unaffected, Lu Xiaoyu, sarcastically commented, "If you're going to fight, can you please consider how others might feel?" Zhang Si and Zhuang Qingyan fell silent, both retracting their auras. Zhang Si knew he wouldn't get much from Zhuang Qingyan, so he turned his head to look at the other two. He glanced at Lu Xiaoyu, who was calmly continuing his meal as if nothing happened, and then fixed his composed gaze on Xu Xing. Xu Xing was at a loss for words. He knew it. In V587, he was considered the weakest, and now he was likely to be taken advantage of again. At a critical moment, Zhuang Qingyan cleared his throat twice, attracting everyone's attention. Can I say a few words? He asked. Zhang Si nodded faintly. Go ahead. You deny Song Ke's ideas, probably due to concerns. But why not, in turn, seriously consider the feasibility of this matter? No way, assassinating the magistrate? Tell me, how is that feasible? Mo Yan exclaimed. Zhuang Qingyan smiled. From Song Ke's perspective, it does seem like a fantasy. But what if we consider it from Shei's standpoint? Mo Yan and others were stunned, and Zhang Si's eyes flashed. Zhuang Qingyan's next words seemed to carry some kind of persuasion. Shei base has grown to a scale that has long become a major threat to Nikong. There will inevitably be a war between you and New City. A passive defense will only lead to constant attacks. Changqi, you are an ambitious person. Are you willing to succumb to Nikang's shadow? Are you willing to wait until he's in a bad mood and comes to attack you? Since we've come to this point, instead of waiting to die, why not take the initiative? As long as we get rid of Nikong, the entire District C55 will be yours. The same thoughts circled in the minds of others, This guy is definitely crazy. But on second thought, although his suggestion was shocking, it seemed to make a bit of twisted sense. Zhang Si remained silent. He never expected that his deepest secret would be revealed by this person with just a few words. Why didn't he stay in other people's bases? Why, after awakening his abilities, did he refuse to continue participating in the assessments of the Azure Phoenix? Going further back, why did he and Zhang Ting have such deep conflicts? Ultimately, it was because their ideologies clashed. Zhang Si couldn't understand why, with Zhang Ting's abilities, he chose to live in Yu Mountain and open a small martial arts school. Zhang Ting always accused him of having too much ambition, being arrogant, and always wanting to stand out. Zhuang Qingyan said meaningfully, so, in the long run, Song Ke is clearing obstacles for Shei's bright future. Instead of stopping her, you should join forces with her and together eliminate New City. Everyone. This guy is terrifying, he's too good at manipulating minds. In Shei base, Fan Yiwen led Song Ke along the usual patrol route to find someone. After about 10 minutes, a figure with a high ponytail and a sleek appearance appeared in front of them. Senior sister, Song Ke recognized the person and rushed toward her like a little bird. Rita turned around in surprise, and when she saw Song Ke clearly, her face lit up with joy. Song Ke, it's really you. How did you find your way here? The two held hands and danced in circles, chatting for a while. Song Ke belatedly noticed that the girl next to Rita was curiously staring at her. She scratched her head awkwardly and asked in a low voice, "Senior sister, who are they?" Rita's expression turned cold. "They escaped from the Rose Army. HMPH, I've never seen such a dirty and sordid place." Rose Army? What's that? Song Ke was stunned. In Mu City's base, a regular apartment. Lin Yu sat on the edge of the bed, with no makeup on, her long hair casually tied, supporting her chin as she dozed off. There was a faint shade of dark circles under her eyes. Su Cha leaned against the head of the bed, fingers curved on his knee, silently observing her. As a popular star in Ferrara, Lin Yu always paid attention to her image. She rarely appeared so unkempt. Su Cha, with his first 20 years spent in the rainforest, had never seen Lin Yu like this. When he first followed Lin Yu, he was often scolded as clumsy and stupid, and Su Cha's height of 1.9 meters was often berated by her, making him feel at a loss. However, he never thought Lin Yu was bad. After all, when he was at his lowest, Lin Yu was the only one willing to take him in and even paid him a considerable salary. In Su Cha's eyes, Lin Yu, no matter how bad, was still good. Although Su Cha was skilled in stealth and infiltration, he had no experience in peeking at girls. Caught off guard, Lin Yu suddenly opened her eyes and met Su Cha's gaze. Startled, Su Cha paused and awkwardly shifted his gaze away. Lin Yu's lips curled slightly. "Oh, peeking at me? Are you stunned? Am I good looking?" "No," Su Cha denied immediately, "you should wash your face." Lin Yu almost choked on her breath. "I said you." At this moment, a message tone sounded. Lin Yu lowered her head to check. It was a voice request from Irene. After accepting the call, the sounds of gunfire rumbled on the other side, followed by Irene's hoarse voice. "Are you still at the apartment? I need your help." "Yes, what do you need help with?" "I have a few friends who currently have nowhere to go. Can they hide out at your place for a while?" Irene's voice came through the communication device. Lin Yu quickly thought about it. Song Ke had already informed her about Shei's situation, and they planned to head to the base as soon as Su Cha's body recovered a bit. By then, they would vacate this apartment. Lin Yu reminded Irene, "Sure, but don't forget, the address here has been exposed. Miao Lun's people once tracked Zhang Wanyao downstairs. This apartment is no longer absolutely safe." Irene replied, "It's okay. We'll just transit here for a couple of days." Lin Yu waited at the entrance of the apartment. About an hour later, Irene arrived with 4 or 5 girls, swiftly crossing the street and entering the corridor. Their faces and bodies were covered in injuries, with Irene being the most severe. Blood flowed continuously from her intact left arm, and the hand holding the gun's barrel trembled incessantly. Lin Yu quickly brought medicine to bandage their wounds. After a simple treatment, Irene stood up again. Wait here for a moment. I need to find a few more sisters. Among the portraits given to her by Zhang Wanyao, there were still 2 people who hadn't been rescued. Irene, I'm not afraid. I'll go with you. A young girl with brown skin held onto Irene. Marcia, you don't have any abilities. It's too dangerous to go out, Irene refused, shaking her head stubbornly, insisting on going alone. Lin Yu sighed helplessly. Hey, you're injured. Going alone to save people is even more dangerous, isn't it? Irene replied, it's fine. I can still fight. Forget it, I'll go with you, Lin Yu said. You? Irene raised an eyebrow. Looking down on me? No matter what, I'm still A-level, I can assist you. We can cooperate, better than you going alone, right? Lin Yu had learned a bit of Song Kei's recklessness from being around her for so long. If reasoning didn't work, they'd use force to solve problems. Lin Yu stepped onto a stool, cleared her throat, and boldly shouted, Sisters, raise your glasses together, break through the mist, and rise again. Kill the heavens, kill the earth, and become demons. Let me overturn the heavens again. A dark mist rose in the apartment, and countless blades flew around. This was Lin Yu's new combat style, transitioning from pure support to a control style that combined defense and attack. It was effective for both offense and retreat, giving her some combat capabilities. But these lyrics had nothing to do with romance, a bit too much of a chunibyo, and a bit vulgar. But as long as it worked, a slight movement came from behind. Lin Yu turned around. Su Cha had put on a coat, with bandages wrapped around his abdomen. He was looking at Lin Yu with an expression that was hard to put into words. In Lin Yu's current appearance, even if she were thrown into Ferreira's central square, no one would associate her with the sweet songstress of the past. Quote ellipsis comma quote. Lin Yu awkwardly retracted her legs. Okay, then you come with me, Irene agreed after witnessing her strength. Just as they were about to move, Marcia grabbed Irene again. Irene, actually, Miao Lun headquarters. Zhang Wanyao carried medicine and arrived at the backyard, where the pets here were those whom Miao Lun had not yet tired of. When he lost interest, he would send the recruited Rose Army to various private military camps, euphemistically calling it resource sharing. What's even more tragic is that only the pets abandoned by Miao Lun could find a faint chance of escape. Zhang Wanyao opened the courtyard door and quickly counted, finding that several rooms inside had emptied again. She walked to the right, and there, the girl with bloodstains on her face from a couple of days ago was clumsily bandaging her wounds, gesturing a few times with her single hand, but realizing it wasn't enough, she stopped in frustration. Zhang Wanyao came over to her, took the gauze, and skillfully began to attend to her wounds, saying, "Let me do it." The girl quietly lowered her head and looked at her. The woman in front of her was beautiful. Although there were faint lines at the corners of her eyes, it didn't diminish her beauty. Instead, it added a charming charm. Unfortunately, her shoulders and wrists had dark brands, destroying this perfection. Zhang Wanyao took some time, bandaging up all her wounds, cutting off the loose ends, and checking to ensure everything was neat and tidy. "You did a really good job. Are you a doctor?" the girl asked softly. "No," Zhang Wanyao paused, her eyes momentarily softening, "but my husband is. He's the best surgeon." Both of them understood that the husband she mentioned definitely wasn't referring to Miao Lun. "I'm called Marie, Zhang Wanyao. I was captured. I didn't join the Rose Army willingly." Marie clenched her fist, her expression full of resentment. "Many people here are," Zhang Wanyao sighed lightly. Marie remained silent for a moment. "But I heard others say that you volunteered." Zhang Wanyao's back stiffened. "Yes." Marie looked puzzled. "However, when you talked about your husband, it seemed happy." I don't believe you volunteered. Do you have a purpose? Zhang Wanyao didn't answer. If you want to escape, I can help you. Marie interrupted her. No, I won't escape. Zhang Wanyao looked surprised and found a certain determination in Marie's eyes. My grandfather was a brave freelance mercenary. He taught me that one must avenge oneself. I can't humiliate myself by running away. I want to kill Miao Lun and avenge myself. Hush, Zhang Wanyao quickly covered her mouth, silently pointing outside the wall. There were awakeners everywhere, and they had to be cautious when speaking. Marie lowered her voice. You have companions, right? You've been in contact with people outside, helping those girls escape. Zhang Wanyao frowned slightly. I used to, but now I'm restricted from going out. That route is no longer feasible. Marie blinked, seemingly assessing her credibility. Then, she unexpectedly said something shocking. If you can find powerful help, I can connect you with them. I'm an awakener. Zhang Wanyao was astonished. Weren't you subjected to awakener detection when you were brought here? Only ordinary people can enter Miao Lun's room. Marie folded her hands together, and a faint trace of awakened energy emanated. My level is very low, only E level, undetectable by machines. But I have a twin sister. Our ability is telepathy. Within a certain range, we can understand each other's thoughts. Zhang Wanyao looked worried. Recently, Western Street has been chaotic. Can you be sure your sister is still in Mu City? As they were conversing, a thunderous noise resounded outside. The citywide announcement in District C55 was triggered, and the general declared new laws. From now on, a kill order is issued for all refugees fleeing to Shay. The Guard Unit, Royal Guard, and Iron Eagle team will collaborate to eliminate them. Mobilize all forces in Mu City. Spare no cost, and within 3 days, eradicate the rebel forces. Nikon finally couldn't sit still. They formally declared war on Shay. Chapter 97. When the Roses Bloom. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. Missed. Another miss? On the desolate and barren lifeline, an army of over 3,000 awakeners marched towards Shay in a formidable manner. Apart from the regular troops stationed in Mu City, this joint army also included over 800 high-level awakeners, sea level and above. Among them, the Guard Unit, under the command of Nikong and serving as the personal bodyguards, mobilized a team of nearly 100 people. The Royal Guards, led by Mu Qin, drafted approximately 200 individuals from private forces, while the remaining 500 were all members of Ruan Wenjun's Iron Eagle team. Ironically, among them were also those awakeners recruited during the Hero Banquet. Mu Qin, having collected the expensive ticket of a level 3 crystal, wanted to preserve his own strength. He immediately treated them as cannon fodder, sending them out to resolve the difficulties for the general. All residents of Shay took refuge in the underground air raid shelters, and Zhang Si called for an emergency combat meeting. How many awakeners do we have in the base? Zhuang Qingyan asked. About 1,500 people, but the high-level awakeners are less than 300, Zhang Si replied. Not long ago, the two were at odds with each other, but now they were discussing countermeasures calmly. Unfortunately, with 300 against 800, the odds didn't look promising no matter how you looked at it. Zhang Si and Fan Yiwen, among others, discussed the city's defense layout. Considering Zhuang Qingyan's injured leg, Zhang Si would lower his head when speaking to him. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and wore a black Taoist robe that highlighted his slim and upright figure. Zhuang Qingyan remained silent for 2 seconds, then pulled out a cane from space, stood up by leaning on the ground, and was now at eye level with Zhang Si. Lu Xiaoyu glanced at him. You look like a peacock displaying its feathers. This guy never liked tilting his head to talk to others, always demanding that they lower their heads to him. Now, he unexpectedly stood up on his own. Zhuang Qingyan coldly retorted, you seem quite idle. If you have nothing to do, go optimize the monitoring. The detection awakener Lin Mo behind Zhang Si stepped forward. Brother Lu, I'm familiar with the monitoring. I'll take you there. Lu Xiaoyu snorted proudly and followed Lin Mo. Zhuang Qingyan looked down at the three-dimensional map in the projection and fell into contemplation. Considering the current situation, the outcome of this war did not seem optimistic. Zhang Si turned around and asked in a calm tone, "Any suggestions on how to defend?" As the leader of Shay, Zhang Si was mainly trusted because he did not have the faults of being arrogant and dictatorial. Despite being only 25 years old, Zhang Si was calm, humble, and a good listener. As long as others had valid points, he would adopt them. Zhuang Qingyan pondered for a moment and shook his head slowly, "Can't hold it. Zhang Si, with Mu City's firepower, we definitely can't defend, but that doesn't mean we can't win," Zhuang Qingyan continued. "Big brother, isn't what you're saying contradictory? If we can't defend, how can we win?" Mo Yan was confused. Zhang Si remained composed. "Share your plan." Zhuang Qingyan smiled slightly. "Have you read the ancient military strategies? Capture the thief first to capture the king. As long as we take down Nai Kong, the joint army will fall into disarray." Zhang Si, with a deep voice, pointed out directly, "Your focus has always been on Nai Kong himself, not on Shay. But that doesn't conflict with making Shay win," Zhuang Qingyan didn't deny, calmly analyzing. "To win, we need to use unconventional tactics. Our biggest advantage is that Nai Kong doesn't know the true strength of Shay right now." Before the war, on the eve of the battle, Song Ke attempted to contact Lin Yu. Unable to reach her, she called Su Cha. "How's your injury? Fang Jishu just treated me again. It's almost healed." Su Cha's voice sounded normal. "Do you need me to come over and help?" "Not for now, just come over when the turmoil in Shay is over." With Mu City's base sealed, the roads out of the city were all controlled by the joint army. It was too dangerous to move at this time. "My senior brother asked me to apologize to you on his behalf." "It's okay." Zhang Si had explained that if Su Cha had any problems, he could come to the base for proper treatment. Song Ke asked the three to stay in the apartment and come over after the chaos in Shay settled. She then inquired, "What about Lin Yu? I can't contact her." Su Cha, unusually silent for a moment, said, "She and Irene went out to rescue people. Probably didn't see the message." Not long after Song Ke hung up, Lin Yu's call request rang. As soon as she answered, a deafening sound of intense gunfire came from the other end. Lin Yu shouted hoarsely, "Irene, they're coming, retreat." "Hey, Song Ke, what's going on?" Song Ke wondered. Lin Yu briefly explained the situation with the Rose Army, and Song Ke informed her about postponing the move to Shay temporarily. After exchanging intelligence, Lin Yu sighed. "I originally wanted to tell you, don't retreat from the apartment temporarily. I might have to postpone coming over for 2 days. Take care of yourself," Song Ke instructed. "You too," Lin Yu replied. Lin Mo led Lu Xiaoyu through the base, and when they passed by the entrance of a factory, Lu Xiaoyu suddenly stopped. "Where is this?" "Oh, this used to be where they produced engineering vehicles and cranes, but unfortunately, they're all broken." "Where are they broken?" "It seems there was a programming issue, so they were all abandoned." Lin Mo wasn't too sure about the specific reasons. Lu Xiaoyu's wheelchair entered the workshop. After scanning around, his ice blue eyes gleamed strangely. The control panels of all the mechanical vehicles lit up, and the panel codes rapidly circulated and changed. After a few minutes, the engines roared to life, and all the abandoned vehicles started moving in unison. "I don't think they're broken," Lu Xiaoyu said matter-of-factly. 2 tiny humans were surrounded by densely packed steel machinery, and Lu Xiaoyu remained nonchalant. Meanwhile, Lin Mo was shivering, staring in shock. Song Ke, Zhuang Qingyan, and Zhang Si stood on the observation deck, and Lu Xiaoyu came over to them. "I reinforced the defense system, but some facilities are too old, and the effect is not ideal. Also, I suggest you take a look at this." He pointed, and the screen's image was projected in front of them. On the lifeline several dozen miles away, massive and cumbersome siege machinery was slowly advancing. Large battering rams with metal heads, catapults carrying cannons, neatly arranged cloud ladder vehicles, long-range cannons, grenade launchers. Zombies and ferocious beasts occasionally fled along the way, instantly obliterated as the joint army advanced effortlessly. Liu Xiaoyu zoomed in on one of the cameras. Ruan Wenjun and Mu Qin, fully armed, stood at the forefront of the team. In the middle of the team, on top of an armored tank, sat a middle-aged man with a dignified appearance. He wore a gold-trimmed general's uniform, with a raised eyebrow, a hawk-like nose, and a fierce and sinister gaze through the camera, as if staring them down. After seeing his face clearly, Song Ke was very surprised. Nai Kong was personally commanding the battle? Not only that, he was sitting so conspicuously in such a visible place. Was he afraid that no one would come to assassinate him? Did he rely on his own strength, or did he have something to rely on? Nai Kong, is he an awakener? Song Ke asked in confusion. Zhang Si shook his head slowly, not sure. I've never had a direct confrontation with him, and information about him has never leaked from the reunification palace. Song Ke's expression gradually became serious. Regardless of Nai Kang's plot or reliance in attacking Shay this time, she was determined to kill him. The 4S level awakeners sat or stood together, waiting at the high point of the base. The wind carried the distant news of battle, and even the air seemed to exude an inexplicable sense of solemnity. In the evening, the joint army finally arrived at the outskirts of Shay Base. A distant missile sounded the trumpet of war with a resounding boom. We can't let the siege weapons get close. Zhang Si pressed the communication device and issued orders in a deep voice. Mo Yan, take action. Mu City's weaponry was renowned throughout the alliance, and no matter how solid Shay Base was, it couldn't withstand such intense bombardment. Mo Yan led a team of high-level awakeners, flanking and taking a detour to stealthily attack the facilities, causing a series of thunderous explosions. Song Ke and Zhang Si put on hoods and, under the cover of the vast haze, leapt off the city walls and rushed towards Nai Kong. Song Ke gripped the spiritual weapon, the snake spear, surrounded by her awakened energy, as if entering her own realm, effortlessly defeating the awakeners blocking her way. 8 directions, divine wrath. Let nature take its course. Disperse the malevolent, let the Tao's qi endure. Zhang Si supported her from behind, casting the formidable purification divine curse into the air. In an instant, dark clouds surged, the earth resonated, and myriad symbols descended, leaving no escape for the awakeners hit by the wide-ranging attack. Those struck suffered burns on their skin, falling to the ground in agony. Song Ke smoothly broke through to the vicinity of the armored tank, with Nai Kong just within arm's reach. Nai Kang's gaze was cold and unfazed. Without dodging, he waved his hand, and the guards around him immediately bombarded Song Ke with cannons. Song Ke leapt high, gripping the spear with both hands, fiercely thrusting it towards his head. Boom! A cannon shot from an angle, precisely hitting the spear. The powerful recoil force flipped Song Ke backward. She managed to land with one hand on the ground, knees bent, narrowly stopping her retreat. Once again, she gripped the spear and slashed at Nai Kong. But at that moment, the tank beneath her feet unexpectedly shook, and Song Ke, off balance, fell from the top. A chill ran through her heart. Why, every time she was about to kill Nai Kong, she would just miss by a bit. Did she have such bad luck? Zhang Si caught Song Ke's back, and his towering figure went over her. Swiftly forming seals, he sent a 7-star sword, imbued with the purification symbol, flying towards Nai Kong. When it reached him, the sword suddenly shook violently, barely grazing his scalp. Nai Kong emerged unscathed. Senior brother also made a mistake? Song Ke and Zhang Si exchanged a surprised glance. This wasn't right. Originally planning for a single strike and quick withdrawal, they unexpectedly made consecutive mistakes, lingering in the same spot for too long, and instantly found themselves trapped. Dozens of high-level awakeners arrived nearby, and a ferocious-looking short man emerged from the crowd. Tiger-like eyes stared directly at the two. Captain of the guard, Juralamani, though he's A-level, his true strength is close to S-level awakeners. His ability is spatial distortion, Zhang quickly explained. Others are easy to handle. Focus on taking him down first. Song Ke, casting a glance at Nikon from a distance, shook her spear and confronted Juralamani head-on. Continuously, high-angle artillery struck various parts of the base, causing buildings to collapse and shatter resoundingly. The joint force's firepower was overwhelming, and the situation on Song Ke's side was worrisome. Shei's chances of survival were being squeezed. Ruan Wenjun's expression was bloodthirsty and excited as he commanded the siege vehicles to continue bombarding the high-pressure iron net behind Shei. As long as the lifeline was broken, thousands of zombies would flood in, and the Shei residents hiding in underground shelters would be completely slaughtered. Zhuang Qingyan lowered his head to observe the situation. On the other side, Song Ke and Zhang Si were still fiercely battling, and it seemed unlikely to end anytime soon. With Ruan Wenjun's reckless artillery fire drawing attention, wandering zombies gradually converged towards the iron net, increasing in numbers, including noticeable level 3 zombies. Frowning, he contemplated for a moment, took out a sealed injection from the space, and glanced at Lu Xiaoyu, who surprisingly refrained from making sarcastic remarks. Zhuang Qingyan remained composed as he injected his right leg. A slightly tingling liquid flowed into his bloodstream, followed by a piercing pain. Leveraging the effects of radiation, the cells of his remaining leg continuously renewed, reaching their peak activity at that moment. I'll handle Ruan Wenjun. You deal with the rest for now. Zhuang Qingyan pushed himself up with his hands, without relying on any external force, stood up from the wheelchair. Under the relentless destruction, the high-pressure iron net was on the verge of collapse. Ruan Wenjun's expression faintly revealed a hint of madness. Refugees were like bits of straw, and the masses like pigs and dogs. He cared nothing for the life and death of these people. As long as he could win, as long as he could defeat Changqi, he would be happy to massacre the city. Swoosh, an arrow flew from the side, lightly shooting towards him. Ruan Wenjun tilted his head to dodge and looked in that direction. The first thing that caught his eyes was two well-proportioned long legs, moving with a graceful and elegant stride. Gradually emerging from the haze, he raised his gaze and identified the person's appearance, an attractive man in a trench coat. Where did this idiotic show-off come from? Ruan Wenjun disdainfully glanced at him and ordered his subordinates, "Get rid of him." The Iron Eagle team's awakener set up the high-position sniper cannon, ready to fire. Just as they were about to shoot, a sharp pain, like a knife cutting through their minds, struck. They clutched their heads, howling in pain, and the cannon's direction uncontrollably reversed, firing towards the rear where Ruan Wenjun was. "What the hell are you doing?" Amidst the thick smoke, teammates angrily shouted. A magnetic and charismatic laughter echoed in their ears. "Lord Ruan, you're still so impulsive, just like in Shamong that time." "Shamong?" Ruan Wenjun dangerously narrowed his eyes. "How do you know about Shamong? Are you Changqi?" Courageous indeed, daring to confront him alone. Zhuang Qingyan's mouth twitched slightly. "Well, let him be Changqi." He responded nonchalantly, "Of course, I know. I must thank Lord Ruan for generously allowing us to obtain a well-preserved level 3 crystal. After selling it to some poor fool, we made a whopping 10 million alliance coins. Lord Ruan is indeed Shei's god of wealth. Shouldn't I thank you in person?" This person's cutting words were exceptionally skilled. Ruan Wenjun, stung in a sensitive spot, instantly became furious. "Blast him to pieces," the artillery roared. Zhuang Qingyan swiftly ran around the iron net, tumbling to evade, occasionally deliberately pausing at certain points. In Ruan Wenjun's team, one awakener after another lost control, either suddenly collapsing unconscious or turning the cannons towards their own people. Mental type awakener? Ruan Wenjun gradually sensed something amiss. So what? He would still die at his hands. Ruan Wenjun mobilized his awakened energy, not relying on any firearms. With a move of his finger, bang bang, bullets were fired out. Zhuang Qingyan evaded awkwardly, and Ruan Wenjun closely pursued, relentlessly spraying him. Gradually distancing himself from the army, he forced the opponent into a dead end against the iron net. Zhuang Qingyan's back slammed heavily against the net, and eager zombies outside reached out to grab him. His face filled with distress, he sighed, "Oh dear, Lord Ruan, after so many days, you're still so careless." Dying, yet still defiant. Ruan Wenjun coldly snorted. Numerous bullets were about to turn Zhuang Qingyan into a sieve. Zhuang Qingyan smiled wryly. Carelessness can cost you your life. The high-pressure iron net finally couldn't bear the strain and collapsed with a loud crash. Over a dozen 3-meter-tall evolved zombies roared as they rushed in, facing a barrage of bullets. The zombies, impervious to physical pain, opened their cracked mouths, enraged expressions completely undeterred. Ruan Wenjun's pupils suddenly contracted. Level 3 zombies always had a territorial awareness. How could so many gather in one place? Even more shocking, those zombies, without sparing a glance at Zhuang Qingyan, bypassed him and charged furiously towards Ruan Wenjun. Ruan Wenjun desperately used bullets to drive them away when suddenly his body froze. A cold and sharp spiritual force pierced through his mental field, rendering his own ability useless. Before being torn apart by zombies, Ruan Wenjun looked at the man standing calmly in front of him with disbelief. How could this be possible? With a relaxed posture, Zhuang Qingyan took 2 steps forward and finished off Ruan Wenjun with his spiritual crossbow arrow. Zombies were mindless monsters, but evolved zombies were not. Chapter 98. When the Roses Bloom. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master, Shay's Counterattack. After Ruan Wenjun was torn apart, Zhuang Qingyan raised a repeating crossbow and aimed it at the remaining Iron Eagle team. Level 3 zombies possessed some intelligence. He could control their actions through mental power, such as besieging, feigning surrender, or escaping. The trench coat swayed with a half-elegant arc. Zhuang Qingyan walked forward with a leisurely pace, standing in the midst of the monsters. With one hand in his pocket, he exuded the demeanor of a big boss, followed by a dozen level 3 zombie henchmen. A hint of beaking style emerged in the horrifying scene. Zhuang Qingyan moved his finger in the direction of the Iron Eagle team, and the zombies immediately rushed fiercely. The artillery squad near the iron net panicked, abandoning the catapults and scattered in all directions. Among them, the slow ones were bitten by level 3 zombies on the neck, falling to the ground, making a crunching sound as they were devoured. Ruan Wenjun is dead, and the defeat of the joint army is inevitable. Zhuang Qingyan shouted loudly. In such times, it was necessary to undermine the enemy's morale. His clear voice spread through mental power, echoing throughout the battlefield. The formation of the joint army was clearly disrupted, but unfortunately, it quickly regained order. There was more than one warlord on the battlefield. The cunning Mu Qin took over the command, identifying Shay's weakness and shifting to a focused attack on the base. After Zhuang Qingyan finished off the Iron Eagle team, he looked in the direction of Song Ke and Nai Kong. There were countless siege ladders on the city walls, giant siege engines rolling over the roads, and metal hammers smashing Shay's foundation. Residents hiding in the air raid shelter had rocks and sand falling on their heads. They endured fear, huddled together silently praying. "No time, I'll go take out the catapults first," Mo Yan shouted while running. "Kid, come back." Fan Yiwen couldn't stop Mo Yan. He flashed and rushed into the heart of the joint army. Mo Yan maneuvered through the haze, accurately throwing his supernatural fireballs at the siege engines. Everywhere he passed, fireworks erupted. Faster, even faster, Mo Yan urged in his mind, moving swiftly. Several rows of howitzers suddenly appeared in front of him. Mo Yan's eyes lit up, he concentrated on accumulating energy. Just as a giant fireball bigger than his body was about to be thrown out, a cannonball flew in from the side, landing at his feet and exploding thunderously. Ellipsis. As Shay's base was about to be engulfed in artillery fire, a high bridge suddenly descended from above. Creak, clatter, a dense array of steel machinery charged out of the base, including construction vehicles, bulldozers, cranes, new model tractors. At a glance, it seemed endless. What was even more terrifying was that they came equipped with basic AI processing modules, fearlessly colliding with the approaching siege ladders and siege engines. Bang! The crane, like a ferocious beast, swung its arm forcefully, tearing down the ladders on the city wall. Its hard tracks ruthlessly rolled over, crushing them. Boom! Hundreds of unmanned bulldozers charged recklessly, carrying large quantities of explosive packs. In suicide attacks, they targeted catapults and missiles. Mercenaries nearby couldn't escape in time and were blown away, while similar highly lethal weapons continued to emerge from Shay's base. What on earth are these things? The mercenaries cried out in despair. The situation on the main battlefield instantly reversed, putting the joint army on the defensive, and Shay gained the upper hand. In the lookout tower of the base, Lu Xiaoyu, with 6 mechanical arms standing, had closed his eyes tightly. Silver hair fluttered on his shoulders, and his entire body was surrounded by layers of binary code, like a giant ancient tree composed of data. Each branch executed different commands, simultaneously controlling all the steel vehicles with his supernatural abilities. Once, in the dark and sunless underwater purgatory, Lu Xiaoyu was the Lord Hades who used crime record to govern the life and death of prisoners. And now, the mechanical barrier he constructed became Shay's strongest line of defense. Nai Kong looked towards the high ground with a serious and solemn expression. Unexpectedly, besides Chong Qi, Shay had a second S-level awakener. Mu Qin, deploy snipers, immediately intercept this person. Nai Kang's stern command came through the earpiece. Mu Qin, in charge of commanding the siege, immediately organized a team of high-level Esper snipers. Crimson aiming dots flickered on Lu Xiaoyu's face. Beside Lu Xiaoyu, Lin Mo rushed forward anxiously, biting his lip. He opened his arms, shielding him. Lin Mo was just a support-type awakener, usually only responsible for monitoring and detecting enemy movements. Now, with all the attacking awakeners from Shay engaged in the battle, he could only anxiously watch. Lu Xiaoyu's role was crucial, and he must not be in danger. The sniper, targeting their mark, was about to pull the trigger. Suddenly, a group of level 3 zombies leapt over, landing precisely on the sniper positions. With the zombies' roars, the flesh of the awakeners in the sniper positions flew in all directions, completely disrupting their attacks. In the chaotic battlefield, Zhuang Qingyan hurriedly passed by, casually helping out. However, he didn't linger on the main battlefield. After disrupting the snipers with a quick move, he continued to run forward and disappeared into the mist. In the rear of the joint army, Nai Kong sat in the command seat of an armored tank, coldly overseeing the situation. Song Kei's snake spear fiercely stabbed towards Juralamani's throat. Juralamani seized the spearhead with both palms, forcefully pulled it downward, locked it with his elbow, then wrapped both legs around the spear handle, hanging upside down on the spear. He rendered Song Kei's attack completely immobilized. Song Kei's eyes flashed, recognizing the opponent's move. It was the Ghost Fist mentioned by her master. Ghost Fist was an ancient martial art originating from Mu City, known for its strength and agility. During battles, practitioners used the body's fists, legs, elbows, and knees, 8 limbs in total, as sharp weapons. The practitioner's limbs moved simultaneously, resembling a spider. Because of this, Ghost Fist was referred to as the 8-arm fist by outsiders. Mastering Ghost Fist made Juralamani extremely formidable in close combat. The air around vibrated as Zhang Xi's 5 Thunder Curse flew towards Juralamani. This curse had strong single-target killing power, and being hit by it meant certain death. Suddenly, invisible fluctuations appeared around Juralamani, and 3 or 4 black holes materialized, completely absorbing the 5 Thunder Curse. Juralamani's awakened ability, Space Distortion, inherently countered Zhongxi, who needed pre-casting time, drawing symbols. Realizing this quickly, Zhongxi stopped using symbols, drew a long sword from his waist, switched to melee combat, and joined forces with Song Ke. Just as the 3 were engaged in a fierce battle, a group of level 3 zombies suddenly jumped out from behind Nikong. Their sharp claws reached towards his face. At such a close distance, the agile evolved zombies missed their attack, and their pitch-black eyes revealed a hint of confusion. In the misty haze, a pair of long legs slowly walked out. Zhuang Qingyan looked up at Nikong, and a thoughtful expression gradually appeared in his eyes. Seeing him, Song Ke, despite being surprised at when his right leg had recovered, turned her head and resumed the fight with Juralamani. Zhuang Qingyan flashed to Zhongxi's side, quickly saying, "I'll take care of this. You go defend the city." Zhongxi glanced back, seeing that Mu Qin was adjusting formations against Lu Xiaoyu. With his limited mobility and the need to control machinery with a significant amount of mental focus, Zhongxi nodded, swiftly retreating. Zhuang Qingyan's peach blossom eyes showed no sign of amusement as he stared intently at Nikong. He sensed a faint awakened energy from him, undoubtedly confirming Nikong as an awakener. Nikong appeared on the battlefield without any fear, confident that their group couldn't kill him. Zhuang Qingyan raised the repeating crossbow and tentatively shot an arrow. Sure enough, the bolt was knocked down by missile fragments from an unknown source before reaching Nikong. Zhuang Qingyan squinted his eyes, rapidly sifting through his thoughts. A power related to mysticism? It was probably one of the most complex causality-based supernatural abilities. If he couldn't find the cause, he couldn't act on Nikong, the effect. He abandoned attacking Nikong and instead directed level 3 zombies to assault other awakeners, patiently seeking an opportunity to break through. On the other side, Song Ke abandoned her snake spear, opting for bare-handed combat against Juralamani. When fighting against an opponent proficient in Ghost Fist, weapons could become a hindrance and might be distorted by his awakened ability. After exchanging hundreds of moves with Juralamani, Song Ke had already identified his weakness. The strength and powerful damage output were the strengths of Ghost Fist, but at the same time, they were its weaknesses. Focusing on strength naturally slowed down his speed, and the forceful punches meant a lack of variation between moves. Adjusting her breath, Song Ke entered a state of free fighting. She swiftly circled around Juralamani, no longer engaging in direct clashes but instead moving with agility. She seized opportunities to kick, punch, and throw him, targeting various vulnerable joints in his body. In the magnetic field, her awakened energy constantly radiated. Song Ke utilized every inch of her muscles to the fullest, barely touching the ground with the soles of her feet. Her attacks became unpredictable, creating afterimages that made it impossible for Juralamani's 8 arms to reach her. Juralamani found himself at a disadvantage. However, he remained calm. Seizing the intervals between Song Ke's 2 attacks, he lifted his knee, hooking it towards her neck. He took the bait. Song Ke, who deliberately exposing a vulnerability, felt a surge of joy. She mimicked his exact move, raising her knee and forcefully countering Juralamani's attack. The superior force dispelled Juralamani's assault, disrupting his balance. With angry eyes and a backward fall, he crashed to the ground. Song Ke rotated her body, leaping up, landing heavily on top of him. Her knees suppressed any attempt he made to rise, then with a twist and a turn, she severed Juralamani's head from his body in an instant. Crack! There seemed to be an invisible something shattering in the wind. In the moment of Juralamani's death, Nikang's expression changed drastically. He opened the top hatch, intending to duck down. Zhuang Qingyan, who had been closely watching him, sensed a slight looseness in the cause on his body and immediately thrust his mental ability. Naikang's figure suddenly stiffened, consciousness filled with intense pain, and he couldn't escape into the tank in time. Simultaneously, Zhuang Qingyan shouted loudly, "Song Ke." Song Ke abruptly raised her head, locking eyes with him for 0.0001 seconds. Despite no verbal communication, miraculously, Song Ke understood Zhuang Qingyan's meaning, to seize the opportunity. She sprinted at full speed, leaping towards the armored tank where Naikang was. Her right hand transformed into a snake spear once again, fiercely stabbing toward Naikang's back. Time seemed to slow down. In the terrified expression on Naikang's face, the spearhead pierced through his uniform, bulletproof vest, flesh, and muscle. It was about to pierce through his bones and into his heart. However, at that critical moment, the cause and effect on Naikang's body flowed once again. Suddenly, Song Ke's footing slipped, and she staggered back 2 steps. The attack of the snake spear abruptly disappeared, allowing Naikang to take advantage and slip into the tank. Song Ke exclaimed, "Missed?" For the third time, she missed. She really wanted to curse out loud. After Naikang disappeared from the command post, the armored tank hastily retreated, unexpectedly abandoning the attack and leaving the majority of the joint army behind to escape. Zhuang Qingyan quickly approached Song Ke. She was looking disheartened, lowering her head, and the snake spear tapped on the ground one after another. Zhuang Qingyan looked at the curls of hair on her head, reaching out to rub them. "It's not your fault." Song Ke looked up at him, her expression seemingly pitiful. Zhuang Qingyan smiled inwardly, using his slender fingers to wipe away the dirt from her face. "This little girl, always getting herself dirty. Naikang has a mystic supernatural ability. Without deciphering it, even you wouldn't have been able to kill him." Mystic supernatural ability? Song Ke was puzzled. So, her repeated mistakes, along with Zhang Xi's, weren't due to their own faults but were influenced by supernatural abilities. "Yeah, I roughly figured it out. Let's finish the war first, and I'll explain it to you when we get back," Zhuang Qingyan said. Zhang Xi rushed to the main battlefield, his black Taoist robe resembling the Grim Reaper harvesting lives. The pure heaven and earth divine incantation was unleashed, causing the heavens and earth to change colors. The sniper team, who had barely regrouped after the previous onslaught, was once again overturned by the explosion. With Zhang Xi and Lu Xiaoyu, one above and one below, 2 S-level awakeners dominated the field. Combined with the continuous damage caused by waves of surprise attacks and suicide explosions on the siege weapons, the joint army was now defeated, like a mountain collapsing. Mu Qin withdrew his gaze from the rear and made a decisive decision: retreat. Next to him, Tun Qin exclaimed in disbelief, "Uncle, we were about to win. Why retreat?" Mu Qin's face looked grim. "Win? Where did you see a chance of winning? Ruan Wenjun is dead, the general has fled, and if I don't leave now, should I prepare to take the blame for this failure?" After saying this coldly, Mu Qin turned away from the battlefield without looking back. Tun Qin looked angrily toward the front. This joint army operation was something he had begged Mu Qin to let him participate in. If he couldn't seize this opportunity to achieve merit and gain fame, when would he ever get a chance to stand out? A figure in a black robe flashed by, killing a large group of mercenaries with a wave of his hand. Under the hood, half of a side profile revealed sharp eyebrows and eyes, full of heroic spirit. Zhang Xi. Tun Qin gritted his teeth and shouted the name with resentment. If there was someone Tun Qin hated most in his life, it was undoubtedly Zhang Xi. This intense hatred, at its root, boiled down to the word, jealousy. Zhang Xi was about the same age, always the senior brother at Yu Mountain Martial Arts School, with better martial skills and better popularity. Although Zhang Ting often scolded and beat him, in moments of solitude, his gaze always lingered on Zhang Xi. Family love, friendship, and even love, Zhang Xi effortlessly possessed them all. His future was 100 times brighter than Tun Chin's. Tun Chin would never forget the martial arts competition in the year he first went to Yu Mountain. Zhang Si effortlessly defeated him, pressing his head against the ground with just one hand. In front of everyone at the martial arts hall, he gave Tun Chin a humiliating lesson. Driven by anger, Tun Chin lifted a shoulder-mounted cannon, vigorously charging towards Zhang Si. He was now an advanced B-level awakener. This time, he was determined to make Zhang Si kneel and beg for mercy. Tien Beking, someone who does cool stuff effortlessly or everything they do is unusually cool, Chapter 99, When the Roses Bloom. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master, 3 lives. Tun Chin's awakened ability was called Battle Spirit Fury. As long as he gained the upper hand in a duel, he could ignite his battle spirit, accumulate layers, and thereby fight more smoothly, eventually forming a full suppression of the enemy. He carried a rocket launcher on his shoulder called Poison Sting. This was the latest single-person anti-tank weapon from the Mu City arsenal. When the armor-piercing projectiles it fired hit a person, they would cause burning, armor-piercing, and explosive effects, along with blinding intense light and burning effects. Even high-level awakeners would be reduced to pieces if hit. Tun Chin hid behind a half-slope, activated the scope, aimed at Zhang Si moving in the field, and without hesitation, pressed the trigger, firing 4 armor-piercing rounds in rapid succession. Boom, 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 dazzling flames soared into the sky, and Zhang Si was instantly engulfed. The layers of battle spirit were smoothly ignited. Tun Chin smiled coldly, dropped the poison sting, and switched to a submachine gun before charging forward. In the rolling smoke and dust, the place where Zhang Si was empty. Tun Chin was greatly surprised and quickly turned around. Too late, Zhang Si was surrounded by a protective spell and instantly teleported behind him, delivering a fierce chop with his hand. Tun Chin had no chance to react and was hit squarely. His firearm fell to the ground. Zhang Si transformed his knife into claws, grabbed the back of Tun Chin's neck, and slammed him forcefully to the ground. Half of Tun Chin's face happened to press against the still burning flames, and the sizzling smell of burnt flesh filled the air. He writhed in pain with a distorted face, howling continuously, and the bit of battle spirit he had accumulated disappeared instantly. "It's you," Zhang Si recognized his voice, loosening his grip slightly. "Good timing. If you didn't come, I would have gone looking for you." "What's this? The prestigious senior brother of Yu Mountain has fallen to become a lackey of the Shay base?" Tun Chin spoke hoarsely, eyes darting around, constantly aware of the surroundings, attempting to turn the tables. He deliberately provoked, "How does it feel, senior brother, to become a lackey of Shay?" Zhang Si clasped his fingers, forming a spell with his left hand, controlling Tun Chin with a soul-binding curse. Then he pulled out a knife and ruthlessly stabbed through Tun Chin's right arm, pinning him to the ground. "Ah!" A sharp and miserable scream echoed. "Ignorant and incompetent, did you never consider my identity before attacking me as a member of the Shay base?" Zhang Si released his awakened energy, and the pressure of an S-level awakener descended like a heavy mountain, leaving Tun Chin breathless. You're a Chongqi?" Tun Chin suddenly realized a terrifying fact, his eyes wide with horror. The notorious leader of Shay's refugees, Chongqi, had a widespread reputation. Rumors about him being an S-level awakener circulated among the upper echelons of Mu City, but details about Chongqi's origins, background, and appearance were scarce. Due to his rare appearances and the disdain of the arrogant military leaders to send anyone to infiltrate the refugees, nobody knew anything about him. Tun Chin's right hand trembled, veins subtly bulging on his otherwise intact half-face. "Zhang Si, you insulted me, ruined me, killed me time and time again. What are you pretending to be, a righteous person? You're just a scoundrel, a hypocrite. From the beginning, I disagreed with your initiation," Zhang Si said in a deep voice. "In the matter of martial arts, strength has always been the only language. If you can defeat me fair and square, you can still step on my head. But your character is dark, and every time you lose, you hold resentment. To keep Yu Mountain Martial Arts School running, substantial financial support was needed. Zhang Ting, being a worldly person, had a clear reason for accepting Tun Chin, the generous initiation fee. However, during their first sparring match, Zhang Si noticed the distorted psychology of Tun Chin. While winning and losing were common, Tun Chin's gaze seemed to want to kill everyone who defeated him. I ask you, what happened in the martial arts school before and after the apocalypse? Zhang Si raised his voice to question. They had excavated every mound of earth, including Zhang Ting's. Zhang Ting obviously hadn't turned into a zombie, and his injuries were clearly inflicted by a person. Rita had said that she left Yu Mountain 2 days before the apocalypse, and Tun Chin was among the people left behind. Now that the martial arts school was completely wiped out, if anyone knew the truth, it was probably Tun Chin. When pressured with questions, Tun Chin was first stunned and then burst into laughter. Senior brother, even if you're S-level, there are things you can't accomplish. Want to know how your real dad died? Beg me. When Zhang Ting was alive, you adamantly denied him as your father. Now you act like a filial son, mourning for him. Ha ha ha, no change in your stubbornness. A person like you is not worthy of being a student of Yu Mountain, Zhang Si said coldly. Confident that Zhang Si wouldn't dare to kill him, Tun Chin mocked unabashedly, senior brother wants to uphold justice and kick me out? How imposing. Ruotong, Zhang Si shouted, even if you don't speak, I have a way to find out. With a stern face, Bai Ruotong ran over. She couldn't deal with an S-level like Zhuang Qingyan, but she could still handle a B-level. Her powerful mind probe emerged forcefully, delving deep into Tun Chin's mind, searching every nook and cranny. Tun Chin broke into a cold sweat, his scalp feeling like it was about to be lifted, and he couldn't even scream. Fragmented memories flowed like a tidal wave, and Bai Ruotong quickly seized the parts she wanted. On the first day of the apocalypse, Zhang Ting locked the mutated students in the warehouse, silently guarding the door. Shortly after, a group of uniformed people broke into the martial arts academy. After a brief conversation with Zhang Ting, a fierce dispute erupted, leading to a duel. Their methods were mysterious, and their attacks were unheard of. They teamed up to kill Zhang Ting and then ransacked the place. Tun Chin, who had overslept in the dormitory for a day, woke up to find the martial arts school deserted. He went to the surveillance room and witnessed the entire process of Zhang Ting's death. He dared not make a sound and only gathered his things to escape, leaving Yu Mountain. After Bai Ruotong read his memories, tears streamed down her face as she scolded, word by word, Tun Chin, you are truly the shame of Yu Mountain. When Song Ke and Zhuang Qingyan arrived, Zhang Si, with an emotionless face, pierced Tun Chin's head with a knife. Senior brother? Song Ke called him softly. Zhang Si pulled out the knife and said only 4 words, clean up the mess. After Nai Kong and Niu Qin left, the joint forces abandoned most of the damaged and impractical siege equipment and hastily withdrew from the battlefield. As Zhang Si and Song Ke were cleaning up the aftermath, Fan Yiwen suddenly ran over carrying someone. His face was covered in soot, and the voice of the 1.8-meter tall man was crying, Zhang Si, save Xiao Mo quickly. Mo Yan, alone, went to destroy the catapults and was caught in the explosion of a cannon. Half of his body was a bloody mess, and his original appearance was unrecognizable. His limbs hung limply, breathing shallow, and it seemed he was about to give up. Zhang Si couldn't care less about cleaning up the battlefield and quickly said, take him to Lu Chu. Lu Chu was the only healing awakener in the base. Before the apocalypse, she was just an ordinary Shay candidate. She had barely managed to get into Tungwen Medical College, and hadn't even attended a professional class when the unlucky apocalypse struck. In previous healing attempts, Lu Chu relied on her level half the time and self-study the other half. When facing a real-life threatening situation, her half-baked skills proved inadequate. Seeing Mo Yan's miserable condition, Lu Chu's healing ability immediately covered him. After a while, she looked panicked and said, "No, his awakened energy is draining too quickly. I can only barely sustain it, I can't perform the treatment." Zhang Xi's body tensed immediately. Fan Yiwen cried with tears streaming down his face. Even a B-level healing awakener couldn't do it. Is Mo Yan really going to die here? Song Ke quickly spoke up, "Senior brother, my companion is an A-level healer and a doctor. I'll have him come over right away." An A-level healer. In just a few words, hope ignited again among the group. The scarcity of healers was well known, especially A-level. Zhang Xi immediately nodded, "I will release all the checkpoints and ask him to come to Shay as quickly as possible." Song Ke contacted Su Cha using the communicator, and the response came almost instantly. "Su Cha, quickly bring Fang Jishu to Shay, it has to be fast." Su Cha was silent for a moment, without any further questions, and responded in a deep voice, "I'm on my way." When the roses bloom. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master. 3 lives. From New City to Shay, even at full speed, it would take 4 or 5 hours for awakeners to run. Lu Chu's psychic power might not hold out. Rita brought a box of level 3 crystals, more than a dozen in total, all spontaneously donated by Shay's awakeners. If Lu Chu couldn't hold on, they would extract energy from the crystals. Time passed second by second, and everyone's hearts were tightly suspended. Lu Chu's face grew paler, her body trembling uncontrollably, and Mo Yan's breathing became barely audible. At this critical moment, Lin Mo led Su Cha and Fang Jishu rushing in. "He's here." Fang Jishu's hair was disheveled, the bun at the back of his head had long lost its shape, and even his stubble was shaved on only one side. After arriving on the scene, he immediately took over, skillfully cutting Mo Yan's clothes, removing the dust and sand from his airway to prevent sudden suffocation during surgery. Then, he restored the organs such as the heart, lungs, and kidneys, with a pale blue healing ability flowing in. Mo Yan's complexion visibly improved. Song Ke looked back at Su Cha, who, due to the extreme rush, was in bad condition, with a ruptured abdominal wound and blood soaking through his coat. Lu Chu. Zhang Xi also noticed his abnormality and called softly. Lu Chu, who had been observing Fang Jishu's surgery attentively, immediately stood up, "I'll help you with that." Su Cha nodded, "Thank you." Fang Jishu was fully focused, undisturbed by external factors, and his hands were constantly in motion. The others dared not speak or even breathe loudly, countless pairs of eyes staring fixedly at him. After more than 2 hours of emergency treatment, Fang Jishu put down the surgical knife, nodded wearily, and said, "He's saved. Afterward, try not to move him too much. Rest well for a few months, let his lost awakened energy slowly recover." Fan Yiwen clenched his fists and couldn't help but cry. An A-level healer, possessing the ability to compete with the Grim Reaper for lives, and Fang Jishu was not an ordinary A-level. He was already an outstanding surgeon with rich experience. In a crisis, he remained calm and could maximize the use of his healing abilities. Zhang Xi bowed slightly to him and thanked him sincerely, "Thank you." Even Chong Qi, the leader, personally bowed, and all the high-level awakeners behind him snapped to attention, uniformly bending at a standard 90-degree angle and shouting loudly, "Thank you." Lin Mo was even wiping tears as he shouted. Their display startled Fang Jishu. He took steps backward, stumbling, but Song Ke secretly reached out to support him, helping him stand upright. After Mo Yan was out of danger, everyone breathed a sigh of relief and busied themselves arranging the residents, cleaning up the battlefield. Most of the people had left. Song Ke turned to look at Zhuang Qingyan, pointing his finger and lightly tapping his right leg, poking it once, then again, with a curious expression. "Your leg, how did it get better?" "Temporary." Even temporary was quite miraculous. Thinking of how Zhuang Qingyan had wielded his powers on the battlefield just moments ago, Song Ke's eyes sparkled. "You can control level 3 zombies. Yeah, after all, I am also an S level, so I won't embarrass you. Amazing. Song K applauded. Zhuang Qingyan shook his head with a faint smile. Song K's praises, whether for him or for Xu Xing, essentially had no difference. The applause from Song K grew quieter. She looked up and down, and up again at Zhuang Qingyan. After another look, Zhuang Qingyan calmly faced her gaze. A few strands of bangs scattered down his forehead, covering his deep peach blossom eyes. His entire demeanor was sharp yet aloof, creating an indescribable contradiction. Song K was stunned. It felt like he had become a different person. No, perhaps the Qinglin researcher in the wheelchair was just another layer of disguise. The man standing before her, running and standing confidently, was the real Zhuang Qingyan. Am I good looking? Song K nodded dumbly. Song Kiki, I found out that you are still a face con. Zhuang Qingyan clicked his tongue lightly. Song K's cheeks puffed up angrily, and she punched him in the mouth. As a result, Zhuang Qingyan made a muffled sound, and his tall figure, unable to maintain balance, fell forward. Song K was alarmed and quickly reached out to catch him. She turned her head to realize that Zhuang Qingyan's complexion was not good. The magic time is over, Zhuang Qingyan sighed. Nearly 8 hours had passed since the injection, and the sealed side effects were beginning to manifest. Then, what should we do? Song K anxiously said, I'll go get a wheelchair. Don't move for now, let me rest a bit. Zhuang Qingyan extended his right hand, gently embracing Song K's back, exerting a little force. The distance between the two became even closer. Song Kiki, who do you think I've been working so hard for? Warm breath sprayed on her neck, and Song K's toes curled. She stood there like a wooden stick, upright. The questioning tone seemed to have a hook, demanding an answer from her. Me, I guess, Song K replied awkwardly. You have some conscience. A faint chuckle sounded in her ears. A faint blush spread from her cheeks to the top of her head. Song K, very uncharacteristically, blushed. The cafeteria once again served as a temporary meeting room. All the high-level awakeners in Shay gathered, regardless of the length of time they had joined. After this battle, they were now comrades worthy of trust. Song K pushed Zhuang Qingyan in. He looked boneless, lazily leaning against the wheelchair. Occasionally, he would weakly cough a couple of times. Song K was very cautious, even reminding him with hushed tones when crossing the threshold, as if he were made of glass. Fang Jishu glanced at Zhuang Qingyan, not remembering that one of the side effects of the seal was being delicate. You mentioned having a meeting to discuss Nai Kang's situation. Did you make any discoveries? Zhang Si pointed to a table in the distance. Song K, Rita has saved you some food. Come over and eat first. Song K responded with a sound, releasing the wheelchair with both hands, and happily ran over to pick up the bowl, eating with gusto. Zhuang Qingyan lost his desire to perform, sat up straight, and his complexion was no longer pale. The weak coughing also stopped. He spoke with a serious expression. Nai Kong is not an awakener. This revelation caused a stir among the people present. What? How is that possible? He's not an awakener? Then why couldn't even an S level take him down? Zhuang Qingyan calmly said, Nai Kang's awakened energy is extremely weak, definitely not emitted from the body's magnetic field. I speculate that there should be a causality awakener who has applied some kind of protective barrier on him. Causality awakener? I know someone. Samuel, the mercenary leader they had met briefly, suddenly spoke up. That person used to be a mercenary in Western Street. Later, he joined the guard unit. His awakened ability is life puppet, which can turn people into puppets. He can use their lives instead of his own. As long as the puppet doesn't die, the master won't die. Such an awakened ability was shocking to hear. Damn, making others die in one's place. No wonder Nai Kong is so arrogant. Then who is his puppet? Zhuang Qingyan continued his analysis. When Song K killed Jularamani, Nai Kang's expression showed clear panic. Within the next few seconds, he exposed a vulnerability that could be attacked, but quickly recovered. John C. added, "Are you saying that Jularamani was Nai Kang's first puppet?" First puppet? Everyone's hearts sank. The implied meaning in John C.'s words suggested, does Nai Kang have other puppets? No way. How many lives does he have? Can't he be killed? Is there no limit to this ability? Of course there are limitations. Every time a causality awakener uses their ability, they pay with their own life. Besides, that person is only B-level, and as far as I know, he died a few months ago, Samuel said solemnly. Song K's heart also cast a shadow. According to the information provided by Samuel, the causality awakener likely died from overdrawing on their ability. The puppets he created at the cost of his life were all used on Nai Kang. 3 puppets, Zhuang Qingyan said indifferently. Nai Kang has 3 puppets. How do you know? Others looked at him suspiciously. Zhuang Qingyan waved his hand from a distance. Song K, let me borrow the terminal. Song K put down the bowl and ran over, passing through the crowd and handing the terminal to him. Zhuang Qingyan projected a whiteboard and, in front of everyone, listed a series of complex formulas. It's not difficult to calculate the result. Just consider Nai Kang's awakened energy, magnetic field strength, and radiation fluctuations inside his body. Then perform the calculations. First, set the total amount of his awakened energy when he first appeared as Y. Then, after Jularamani's death, the first layer of causality disappears. Set this variable as X. Zhuang Qingyan's fingers moved quickly, and more data appeared on the whiteboard. Finally, he drew a straight line gracefully. The final answer is obvious. After Jularamani's death, Nai Kang still has 2 layers of protection. This also corresponds to the strength of a B-level awakener. I'm afraid that person, throughout his life, had a limit of only 3 puppets. When Zhuang Qingyan looked up, the cafeteria fell silent. The bewildered expressions of the people from Yushan Martial Arts School were identical, with eyes revealing a clear stupidity, unaware that their chopsticks and spoons had fallen from their hands. In the complete silence, only Lu Xiaoyu clapped his hands to give face. From the calculation process alone, it's entirely correct. Zhuang Qingyan smiled, put the terminal back on Song K, who was still bewildered, and used his slender fingers to pick off the rice grains on her cheek. To kill Nai Kang, you must first kill the puppets, Zhuang Qingyan calmly revealed the breakthrough. Now the problem is, who are the remaining 2 puppets of Nai Kang? Chapter 100, When the Roses Bloom. Doomsday Spiritual Artifact Master, Groundhog, Pangolin, I have a question. The usually silent Fang Jishu suddenly spoke. Does a puppet know it's a puppet? He washed his face, shaved his beard, and tidied up neatly. Fang Jishu had changed a lot these 2 days. The unexpected reunion with Zhang Wanyao made him completely collapse, but also gave him a new life. Now, the sense of decadence that had been on him completely disappeared, returning him to the mature and rational appearance he once had. They may know or may not know it, Zhuang Qingyan answered slowly. When the causality ability is implanted, neither the puppet nor the master feels any obvious discomfort. If done discreetly enough, they might not even be aware. All the hardships are borne solely by that causality awakener. So, these individuals are jokingly referred to as spring silkworms. In ancient literature, spring silkworms were symbols of selfless dedication. However, in the present context, it's filled with irony. This supernatural ability is too elusive, capable of clandestinely altering someone's life trajectory, becoming a scapegoat for another person. Zhuang Qingyan paused. As for whether Nai Kang's puppet knows its own identity, that's debatable. I think Juralamani doesn't know, Song K affirmed confidently. When a warrior faces life and death, their eyes and displayed state cannot deceive others. When Song K fought Juralamani, the opponent's moves were fierce, their mind resolute, showing no anomalies. If he knew he was a puppet, he'd certainly have some reservations. There would be flaws in his technique, and his emotions would fluctuate slightly when being killed. Yet, Juralamani displayed none of these signs. Juralamani's strength had reached close to S level. He was an absolute powerhouse and wouldn't easily die. Nikong choosing him as a puppet was an extremely wise decision. There was no need to explicitly inform him. Additionally, Zhuang Qingyan's mind was like an unfathomable library, swiftly recalling related information. This kind of life bond cannot be established in one go. It needs several reinforcing sessions. Also, when making a puppet, both the main host and the puppet must be present. Zhang Si further speculated, so, the puppet's selection leans towards people familiar to Nikong, at least those he frequently encounters. Nikong held a prestigious position, allowed entry into the reunification palace, and had few people who met him face to face, further narrowing down the possibilities. The awakeners in the cafeteria discussed animatedly. I don't understand, can't Nikong just randomly snatch someone and lock them up? Wouldn't that be safer? I don't think so. If a normal person is imprisoned for no reason, their mindset would surely explode. What if they can't take it and commit suicide? Wouldn't that waste the puppet opportunity? Is Nikong that foolish? Then he could capture several more, rotate them. The young man who spoke first was unconvinced, turning to Zhuang Qingyan. Hey, buddy, can the identity of a puppet be transferred? Possible. Zhuang Qingyan nodded slightly. The crowd was astonished. The puppet's identity could be transferred? Wouldn't that make it as difficult as finding a needle in a haystack? But the causality awakener must personally implant it. Zhuang Qingyan leisurely completed the latter half of the sentence. That was a real shocker, absolutely terrifying. Their hearts sank back into their chests, murmuring involuntarily, thank goodness he died early, otherwise, it would have been troublesome. Fortunately, the identities of the remaining two puppets are fixed. Samuel, towering in stature, stood up, his voice deep. I understand Nikong better than any of you. He's known as the Tyrant, because he dislikes anything slipping from his control. In my opinion, he won't disclose the truth to the puppets. In the new calendar year 47, it was Nikang's 27th year as the magistrate. Samuel, joining the mercenaries at 15, had witnessed Nikang's bloody ascent to power, steadily developing over the past 3 decades. Samuel thought for a moment and added, I'm not sure what his plan was before, but after yesterday's battle, Nikong lost an important puppet. It's highly likely he'll keep the remaining 2 controlled within the reunification palace, the safest place in Mu City. Zhang Si nodded in agreement. To sum up, the puppets are people Nikong is familiar with or trusts, frequently encountered by him, probably currently within the guard unit or the reunification palace, unaware of their identity. Who could such individuals be? Everyone fell into contemplation, the atmosphere in the cafeteria unusually hushed. I know someone. Fang Jishu gradually clenched his fists. He has been living in the reunification palace for years, closest to Nikong, tightly controlled by him, easily accessible at all times. Most importantly, that person, until today, is still alive and well. Dark flames ignited in Fang Jishu's eyes. He's Nikang's only son, Nai Wen. I used to be Nai Wen's attending physician, well aware of his condition. His bone disease was congenital, previously considered incurable before the apocalypse, but now, survival is entirely possible with the healing supernatural abilities. Come to think of it, we haven't heard about Nai Wen for a long time, murmured a few local mercenaries behind Samuel. That little pervert always enjoyed mutilating healthy children. He used to cause trouble frequently, and our neighbor's daughter was, by him. It seems like he's vanished from the face of the earth lately. Nai Wen being a puppet, only killing him will reveal the truth, Zhuang Qingyan sighed, but to kill him, one must enter the reunification palace. It seems that even if it's a den of dragons and tigers, one inevitably has to make a trip there. I'll go to the reunification palace. Song Ke was the first to step forward. Zhuang Qingyan and Zhang Si glanced at her, almost simultaneously speaking. It's dangerous for you alone. I'll accompany you. I'll go with you. The scene fell silent for 2 seconds. The senior brothers and sisters from Yu Mountain Martial Arts School looked at the two, their breaths hitching in disbelief. Su Cha and Lu Xiaoyu intervened in time. I'll go too. Sounds interesting, count me in. Samuel, Fan Yiwen, and others also chimed in, I'll join too. Most of the high-level awakeners present stood up. Zhang Si raised a hand to calm their agitation, raising his voice, I know everyone came to Shay for survival. This assassination mission is extremely dangerous, completely voluntary, you don't have to force yourselves. Chang-Chi, your kindness is understood, but this concerns everyone's interests. I must go. Nai Kong is practically riding roughshod over us. I have to take him down. Without killing Nai Kong, Shay will never have peaceful days. Chang-Chi, I'm willing to go with you. The name Chang-Chi belonged to the soul of Shay. His charisma was unmatched. The fervent voices surged higher and higher. Zhang Si stood amidst the crowd, like a guiding light illuminating the gloom. Zhuang Qingyan watched coldly for a while before dousing them with a metaphorical bucket of icy water. Just shouting won't work, it's not about who has the loudest voice. What do you mean? Zhuang Qingyan casually pointed at Zhang Si and a few others, you, and you, either you're wanted criminals or unidentified refugees. You can't even enter Mu City, and you're thinking of storming into the reunification palace? Why does this man deserve a beating so much? However, despite Zhuang Qingyan's harsh words, the point was straightforward. For these individuals, getting close to the reunification palace was utterly implausible. Was there any other way they could infiltrate? Song Ke recalled encountering Lu Zixuan in Hua City. Though he was only a D rank, his ability was exceptionally unique, capable of opening a door to any plane. If they could find someone similar, wouldn't they have a chance to enter the reunification palace? Sharing her thoughts, Song Ke saw Zhuang Qingyan nod in agreement. Exactly. It doesn't necessarily have to be door-opening abilities. Other supernatural abilities could work too. If utilized properly, seemingly trivial abilities could be remarkably effective. I'll have all the Awakeners in Shay re-registered, Zhang Si concluded. Mu City. Irene and Lin Yu, accompanied by a group of girls, dashed through the smoke. Irene, this is the last place. Lin Yu shouted, Marcia, haven't you sensed your sister yet? Irene blasted away the pursuing private soldiers and turned to ask. Marcia clenched her lips, shaking her head rapidly. While Nai Kong attacked Shay, Miao Lun used private soldiers to take over the city's defenses. Irene and her team raided several private soldier camps, rescuing some girls conscripted as Rose Army, but Marcia's sister, Marie, was still nowhere to be found. Could it be that your sister is still in Miao Lun's mansion? A wounded girl timidly suggested. I heard that Miao Lun keeps pets he fancies for a while before getting tired and throwing them to the private soldier camps. Miao Lun's mansion was easy to locate, but it was heavily guarded by high-level awakeners, making it virtually impenetrable. Rescuing anyone from within was like searching for a needle in a haystack. Let's send them back first, then we'll go check. Irene and Lin Yu sent the girls back to the apartment and, with Marcia, approached Miao Lun's mansion. They didn't dare get too close, hiding in streets several kilometers away. Marcia folded her hands and activated her telepathic sense. After a few seconds, she exclaimed in excitement, I found my sister. Indeed, Marie was there, but as Marcia's smile surfaced, it froze the next moment. What's wrong? Lin Yu asked nervously. Marcia's expression turned puzzled. My sister said she's with a sister named Yao, and they won't leave for the time being. Yao? Irene and Lin Yu exchanged astonished looks. Zhongwan Yao? They had lost contact with her since that day in the apartment and hadn't expected to hear her name this way. What else did Marie say? Irene asked. Marcia closed her eyes, concentrating on communicating with her sister silently. She told me to quickly leave Mu City and seek reinforcements. What reinforcements? Suddenly, a commotion arose within Mu City. Generals and the joint forces were returning to the city. The news of Ruan Wenjun's death spread like wildfire, and within moments, over 100 fully armed mercenaries streamed out of Miao Lun's mansion. This isn't good, Irene frowned. With Nikong returning at this time, Miao Lun must have received news about the Rose Army's betrayal. He's free now and finding us is just a matter of time. Irene gripped the cannon with her left hand. These girls had barely escaped. Would they now be caught again? Irene, let's go to Shay, Lin Yu said seriously. She had received information from Su Cha and Song Ke about Shay's current situation. I assure you, Shay is different from New City. The leader there, Chong Chi, is Song Ke's senior martial brother. He's honest and fair. If they go there, at least they won't suffer abuse and harassment anymore. Irene lowered her gaze in silence, fearing her decision would push these girls into another pit. Lin Yu earnestly persuaded, even Samuel has joined Shay. If Chong Chi were like Nai Kong, so many locals wouldn't willingly follow him. Fine, let's go to Shay. Irene finally relented and nodded slowly. The three returned to the apartment, gathered the rescued girls, and along with a few dozen people, headed toward the city gates, aiming to leave New City before Miao Lun's search. As they approached the city gates, Irene abruptly halted. Go Denwei and Hu Chao manned the outpost. Their eagle-like eyes scrutinized every person entering or leaving, especially the women, who had to roll up their sleeves for inspection. Irene, a trembling voice came from behind. Those girls, their faces pale, rolled up their sleeves. Except for Marcia, who hadn't been caught, every one of them bore a deep red rose-shaped brand on their arms. This was Miao Lun's victorious medal, the honor of joining the Rose Army. Irene fell into a state of intense, speechless fury. Scum! Lin Yu turned away, angrily cursing. Excuse me, a stranger's voice interrupted them. Irene looked wary, swiftly turning around with Lin Yu, shielding the girls. They recognized the familiar figure. Why was it him? Kansu, who had crossed paths with them before, awkwardly smiled, his face and clothes covered in mud. It's me. Sorry for eavesdropping again. I swear I didn't mean to. I always accidentally know too many secrets, and it's really bothersome. Kansu nervously rambled on, noticing the terrified and disoriented looks of the girls. He slapped his mouth belatedly, then finally got to the point. Are you trying to leave the city? I can take you out. You? What can you do? Lin Yu raised her chin, glaring fiercely. Kansu scratched his head sheepishly. Well, my ability is digging tunnels. Over the years, I've secretly made many passages, including a way out of the city. My friends call me Groundhog, though I absolutely deny it. I'm clearly a pangolin. Kansu continued with nonsensical chatter, then he realized. The beautiful lady in front of him had sparkling eyes, looking thrilled as if she wanted to devour him. Kansu, did I say something extraordinary?